Welcome to your Daily 5 for Thursday, June 6th, 2024. In a interesting bit of timing, since the article that I'm going to talk about today came out the day after I did the 5 on the digital twin concept from the Zoom CEO, I read about over on Vox.com an artist named FKA Twigs, who just testified apparently, or not just, but testified before the Senate about the need for artists to have protection against AI deepfakes, but is also creating an AI deepfake of her own. And as the article points out, the important delineation here is the fact that there is a consent that an artist creating an AI deepfake of herself has, that a company creating one or some private individual creating one does not have. But that's not the thing I want to talk about. In that article, the author is talking about the idea of, well, what happens when everybody has a deepfake? What happens, because they are correct that anybody, if you have the technology for it, a computer that can do it and the ability, you could start training a representation of yourself that you could have going out and doing whatever you want. And so it made me think about what I will be very curious if all this stuff really takes off. If in fact it becomes as widespread as all these companies want us to believe, and if everybody is using it and doing all this stuff. I don't know what that means for the future of people who actually utilize these tools, because we're already at a point where many people simply, from the beginning, do not believe what they're being told online or what they're being presented from various forms of media. Basically, unless somebody is physically in front of you and you can touch them and verify that they're there, you don't necessarily believe that what somebody is saying is even a representation of themselves. We're already at that point, and if all of these deepfakes are now going to be representing people everywhere, are we not looking at a future where none of this has any meaning whatsoever? And what I mean by that is not that you can't believe it, but will people even bother to engage in the idea of celebrity or following anyone? Why would you need to follow someone? I mean, it almost makes me think that at some point, people will simply come home or boot up whatever machine they're using or power on whatever device they're using and ask their avatar in the metaverse or wherever in the world, oh, well, are there any interactions you want to tell me about today? And that thing will filter all of its interactions to that person, the actual human individual, who I guess then could tell it to then go out and respond to certain ones. But would that effort even be worth it? Would it mean anything? Would it have any interest? Because if you are yourself using an avatar to interact with another avatar that will be doubtlessly, in the case of celebrities and that type of thing, be programmed to be a certain way, the thing that most people say that they actually value about their artist interactions and what the internet seemed to be fostering for a while was this concept of authenticity, that you were actually talking to a person and interacting with them on a direct level of some kind, which of course isn't sustainable at scale. You can't expect somebody like Taylor Swift to interact with every single fan she has, but that was something that many people aspired to and that smaller artists used as a way to kind of build their following, which there's also an irony there, that you start small and the way you build community is by being in connection with them, but then you get to a certain point and you have to hire people to maintain that connection or pretend that connection exists. So there is this interesting whole secondary aspect to the idea of success and celebrity. But let's assume that we have a world filled where everybody just has an AI avatar interacting with other AI avatars. Isn't that just a second race of people that all have their own interior culture, and at some point we don't even connect to them anymore? What value is there in that after a certain point? Again, if all you have is a summary engine that talks to other summary engines or artificial engines that are representing something in a very specific and carefully curated way, is there anything there? Are any of those interactions actually of value? Is that not just going to become another mechanism of targeted advertising? Isn't that what we're talking about here? That eventually what you will have are AI-generated ad pop-ups, that when you go to talk to a person, what they're going to be doing is selling you something, because they won't actually be the person. They won't be expressing any real thoughts, or if they're doing it, it will be in service of selling something. Now, you can make the argument that that's much of what celebrity is today, but you've basically removed any type of humanity from it to the point where it does just become, it feels like to me, a sales engine. I don't know. I can't see any other logical endpoint for something like this. But read this article. It'll start with good intentions, as most things do, but I think in the end, all AI avatars become is another type of billboard. Later.